No One Will Save You is the story of an outcast named Brynn who is living on the outskirts of a close-minded small town when an alien invasion occurs. Throughout the movie, it is revealed through clues and flashbacks that Brynn is ostracized by the town because, when she was 12, she accidentally killed her best friend who also happened to be the sheriff's daughter. One interesting parallel in No One Will Save You is the parallel between the killing of Maude and the killing of the first alien. It shows that the same killer instinct that got Brynn in so much trouble as a kid also allowed her to be the final girl in this film. It makes you question whether it is right to punish someone for an instinct. Especially when she was 12. I'll say it, again, 12 she was. She was 12. Of course 12-year-old Brynn had little to no impulse control. Now, there are real-life occurrences of children, some even younger than 12, being legitimately evil and psychopathic and violent. And such people should perhaps not be excused, even if they were children when they committed their crimes, because those crimes showed what was in their hearts. In contrast, Brynn's crime did not show what was in Brynn's heart. But no one could know what was in her heart. Unless they looked. And that brings us to another interesting parallel in No One Will Save You. Both the aliens and Brynn look for the truth, unlike the townspeople. See, while the townspeople made a huge, incorrect assumption about Brynn and held onto it for a decade with no signs of ever letting it go, the aliens studied Brynn. They saw what anyone could see if they just looked. Brynn's house was full of memorabilia and letters of remorse to Maude. If the townspeople had just briefly toured Brynn's house, or even just talked to her, they would know that she was sorry for what she did to Maude. But the townspeople had no interest in that truth, or likely in any truth. Brynn, on the other hand, showed as strong an interest in the truth as the aliens have. When given the option of living in a fantasy where Maude was still alive or living in the real world, Brynn chose the real world. Brynn chose truth. And I think that's one of the reasons the aliens saw her as one of their own, while the townspeople were just vessels for alien souls. About those souls. I think it is interesting how Brynn never killed any of the little throat amoebas, and the aliens were so forgiving of Brynn killing the outer bodies of the aliens. I think they were so forgiving of her because they recognized that the soul/amoeba is the most important part, the part that goes on. A body can be replaced. A soul cannot. Continuing with the consideration of parallels, Brynn killed the alien's body, but not its throat amoeba. Brynn killed Maude's body, but not her soul. But the townspeople could not forgive that. Instead, they tried to kill, not Brynn's body, but her spirit. A far less forgivable crime. And one they will not be extended forgiveness for, as they could not extend forgiveness to Brynn. You, ma'am, are no lady. Another interesting thing about the middle of the movie is the scene in which the alien amoeba that formerly inhabited Brynn's throat grew itself a replica of Brynn to inhabit and then stabbed Brynn and just stood there. It was as if the alien expected Brynn to yield to the untarnished version of herself. But Brynn stabbed back and took out the alien replica because the untarnished version of oneself is not necessarily the better version of oneself. Brynn did mourn the death of this untarnished version of herself, as she should. In processing one's trauma, it is important to mourn the life you could have had and the person you could have been. But Brynn also was wise enough to understand that she herself was the only true version of Brynn, as our scars help make us who we are. And that's No One Will Save You. I thought it was very good. The aliens were more silly than scary, but I think that was intentional. The aliens had to have personalities, since, if they were soulless monsters, the ending wouldn't be a happy one. And it was meant to be a happy ending, with Brynn forgiving herself and living amongst compassionate kindred spirits who will do a much better job of ruling the world than humans did. A perfect ending. One of my favorites of all time. Thank you for watching.